Part 5. Survival of the Beasts, Awakening the Beast Taming System at the Beginning. Author, Ji Sheng Chong. Chapter 41. Straight and slender, white and tender, and this, it's too spicy. This is not okay, this is absolutely not okay. Whoever is next to you, how can you have the mind to do anything else? The level of protruding front and back has reached the level of a devil, not a devil, but a super devil. What makes Lin Yu scratch his head is that this guy actually has an angelic face, especially pure. The nine-colored cloud fantasy fox was very satisfied, with an attractive arc at the corner of her mouth, and her voice became like that of a girl in the boudoir. I've already said it, why are you forcing me? Lin Yu scratched his hair, glared at her, and said, just change your body shape. It's more troublesome for you to go out like this than to go out as a fox. Make it flatter, flatter front and back. Also, didn't you say you were a male? There are very few males in the nine-colored cloud fantasy fox clan. I lied to you just now, and you forced me to become like this, and now you're asking me to change again. We are a cooperative relationship, and you don't cooperate like this. She looked aggrieved and angry again. Any man who saw this look would want to hold her in his arms and love her well. Lin Yu didn't even look at her. Sure enough, she was a vixen. I'm serious this time. You're too troublesome like this, both for you and for me. Besides, I didn't force you. Lin Yu swallowed his saliva and forced her to go see the scenery. So much so that he urged, if you don't hurry up, aren't you afraid that I will really do something to you? Don't think that I have good self-control. Well, I've changed. You turn around, coward, don't even dare to look. She pouted her red lips. Lin Yu turned her head to look, then turned back with great effort, and said angrily, you have changed your fart, you are playing with fire, you know? This dress has changed. He spoke with a little trembling. Nine-color cloud fantasy fox is tall, devilish, angelic face, with very little fabric on her body, and the covered part is like a treasure that attracts Lin Yu. There seems to be a voice in his head telling him to rush up, rush up. Lin Yu is still a pure virgin. The key is that at such a close distance, he can smell the fragrance emanating from her body. For a moment, he really wanted to do it regardless of everything, but he restrained himself, so he trembled when he spoke. Lin Yu felt that his self-control was really strong. The nine-colored cloud fox chuckled on the side, and Lin Yu seemed to be able to imagine how attractive she looked. If you keep on nagging, I won't cooperate. Okay, okay, this time it's really okay. Her laughter stopped abruptly, and Lin Yu prepared himself mentally before secretly taking a look. This time, her figure can only be said to be one of the better ones among humans, but her face has not changed. Another veil, your face is too eye-catching. Lin Yu supported his forehead and said tiredly. It seems that among humans, being too beautiful is a very troublesome thing. A thin silver veil appeared on the face of the nine-colored cloud fox, swaying gently in the wind, covering half of her face, revealing only a pair of pure and ignorant big eyes. Okay, you have to have a name, a human name. Lin Yu looked at her, and he could finally see. Nine-colored cloud fantasy fox thought for a moment and said, you humans are particular about surnames and given names, right? What surnames do you have? Recommend me a few. Zhao, Qian, Sun, Li, Zhou, Wu, Zheng, Wang, Feng, Chen, Chu, Wei, Zhang, Shen, Han, Yang. Lin Yu recited the 100 family surnames to her. Stop, stop, stop. I think I'll just take your surname, and say I'm your sister. As for the name, just call me Hujiju. Lin Yu curled his lips and said, there's no such surname. Just call your surname Hu and your given name Juju, and that's it? No, I'm your sister. Okay, then you'll be called Lin Juju. I have another question. Why, don't you dare look at me. Am I ugly among humans? Ugly, too ugly. Everyone had woken up at this moment, and Zuzu was grilling meat again. He made some seasonings and sprinkled them on it. The fragrance spread far and wide, and he cut it into pieces with a knife and placed them on a wooden plate. Everyone come over here, this is my sister, Linjuju. Lin Yu came over from the gate, followed by a woman with a silver veil. Lin Yu's voice attracted everyone, including Zuzi, who had been concentrating all the time. He only took a look, put down the knife in his hand, wiped his hand on his body, and was the first to come over here, forcing a smile on his dark face, revealing his white teeth. Hello, my name is Zuzi, and I am a member of the Holy Sword Clan. Zuzi confidently extended his hand, which made him a little embarrassed that Lin's sister had no intention of extending her hand at all, and didn't even look at him. Finally, Zuzi winked at Lin Yu, asking for help. Lin Yu coughed twice, patted Zuzi's shoulder, and said, "Your meat is going to burn." Zuzi's face changed, and he hurried over to turn the barbecue grill. Tell everyone that my sister is good at illusions. She will help us temporarily. Today, we will go deep into the depths, and tomorrow, we will go to Suiyu City, Lin Yu shouted. Yeah, it was Xiao Ai who cheered. Everyone was still solemn when they heard the first part, but everyone smiled at the end. Even the two silent brothers started to talk. Little Radish stood beside Yun Chi, she tugged at his sleeve and snorted, "Why are you staring at her? She's brother Lin's sister." Yun Chi shook his head and said, "No, this person is very strange. Brother Lin's sister is not an ordinary person either." Xiao Labo also nodded and said, "I feel very different too, but isn't your nose gone? How do you feel that?" Yun Chi said, "Tisk, what do you know? This is a man's intuition." With the map on the notebook, Lin Yu had a general understanding of Qingwu, but the mountains and rivers would change for things recorded a million years ago. It was a miracle that the Qingwu Mountains could still exist. He felt that there was a reason for the continental plate. The underground plate of the Qingwu Mountains was probably very stable. So this map can only be used as a reference. Heading deeper, there are several places marked on the map. That is the nest of the alien beast lord. After a million years, the bloodline of the alien beast lord must not be low. I believe there should be their descendants inside, or it may be occupied by other alien beast lords. In short, the place used as a nest by the alien beast lord must be a treasure land, and the treasures inside must be of high value. Lin Yu also wanted to go and take a look. Now that he was with Linjuju, it was not impossible for him to give it a try, but it was not safe yet. Survival of the Beasts, Awakening the Beast Taming System at the Beginning. Author, Ji Sheng Chong. Chapter 42. One has just entered the high level, and the other is close to the peak of the high level. However, it can match the alien beast lord, and of course it is not the kind of head-to-head confrontation. With such a lineup, if you want to challenge the alien beast lord without knowing the details of the enemy, there is a chance of success in killing it, but the risk is equal to the opportunity. Keep pushing forward. A group of 8 people were talking and laughing while heading towards the red area of Qingwu mountain range. Not long after, Lin Yu encountered the first high-level alien beast. Lin Juju showed everyone a wave of illusions. The high-level alien beast spun around in circles, and Lin Yu directly put it into the beast control capsule. It can be said that it was like eating and drinking. Yun Chi and others were so surprised that their jaws dropped. This was indeed completely different from the power in the tribe. Lin Juju became a powerful, cold, and mysterious woman in the eyes of everyone. Now, the progress was completely running, very fast and unimpeded. Near noon, I encountered a strange beast that had just entered a high level. It was the stone front great ape. The bloodline is not considered high level, and the peak is high level. The potential of the stone front ape has reached its end, so Lin Yu has no intention of conquering it. Besides, this thing leads a bunch of small stone front apes and throws rocks as big as a small mountain at the team, rolling down the cliffs on both sides. The team was scattered. Dozens, close to hundreds, of the strong apes in front of the mountain rushed down from above. This place was a long and narrow valley, and the middle was blocked by huge rocks rolled down by the strong apes in front of the mountain. The pillars were separated by here, there are Linyu and Linjuju. The others were all on the other side. The high-level stone front great ape seemed to know that Linyu had experts here, so he led many middle-level men down, which was a bit like catching the thief first. Linyu and Linjuju stood together, and the pillar was not far away. He looked solemnly and said to Linyu, "Brother Xiaolin, we have to rush out quickly. Yunqi can't stop so many strange beasts." Linyu nodded, "Don't panic, it will pass. Although there are less than 10 strange beasts here, they are all elite. Zuzu knows that Linyu has many strange beasts, so he should have no problem dealing with these powerful apes in front of the stone, not to mention, there is also his sister." Zuzu felt that she could deal with these alone. She would control the high-level one first, and then use it to defeat the rest. So he was worried about that side. After all, there were dozens of stone giant apes there. To deal with just 5 people, the human sea tactic was sometimes scary. "Are you taking action?" Linyu looked at Linjuju next to him. "It's just a high-level ape-like beast. You can deal with it yourself." She stretched her waist lazily. Linyu rolled his eyes and said, "Then take action next time." After saying that, she released Xiaojin and the high-level alien beast he had conquered today, the hornless fire rhinoceros. This is a strange species, not a mutated alien beast, but a hybrid between a fire rhinoceros and other alien beasts. He can probably grow to the level of an alien beast lord. Exotic beast, hornless fire rhino advanced level 4, level 34. Qualification, general. Skills, fire bull, trample, immovable as a mountain. The skill of Fire Bull is to form flame armor all over the body. Its flames are adherent and increase defense by 10% and strength by 10%. Trampling increases speed and strength. Being immovable as a mountain doubles the defense, but the disadvantage is that it cannot move. 3 more Longwood Forest Lions were released. Xiaojin, go and break that stone. Lao Huo, hold on to the high-ranking one. Daking, just take your 2 wives and block the few ends inside. Zuzu, follow me. Linyu quickly completed the command, speaking in animal language at the front and speaking directly to the pillar at the end. After saying that, he pulled out a silver standard knife and rushed out. Xiaojin roared and headed towards the boulder, while the other beasts rushed out on both sides of Linyu. Zuzu also drew his knife and followed closely. The hornless fire rhinoceros was named Lao Huo by Linyu, and it faced the high-level mountain giant ape. This strange beast has 3 skills, namely chest stone armor, fury, and powerful punch. Stone armor greatly increases defense. Fury is a skill that improves all aspects of attributes. Many bears, orangutans, etc. have this innate skill because they are naturally very violent. The powerful punch lifts the arms, and the strength and speed will skyrocket. Intermediate beasts do not have this skill. An intermediate stone giant ape met Linyu. The muscles on its chest were covered with a thick layer of stone armor, and a fist bigger than Linyu's head hit him. As soon as it moved its steps, its fist fell into the air, and at the same time, it slashed its arm with a knife, causing blood to flow freely. This mid-level ape was completely angry and attacked Linyu crazily, regardless of his own injuries. Linyu has mastered the first move of Tianyi sword technique, Crouching Dragon and Waning Moon, with 1,000 variations of moves. The huge stone front ape can't touch him at all. In addition to the improvement in all aspects of attributes brought by the upgrade, there is also the Wuji Kung Fu. This energy brought a sublimation to Linyu's physical fitness. In addition to life, it also improved all attributes. In fact, Lin Yu can no longer be said to be a level 24 player. Just like players who practice the Blood Emperor Sutra, their strength and defense are definitely better than those of players of the same level. After a brief confrontation, Lin Yu found a flaw and killed it with one knife. The huge body fell backwards. He wanted to help a group of pillars, but he was surrounded by two mid-level alien beasts. He was struggling to support himself and had multiple injuries on his body. But he was directly surrounded by three middle-level powerful apes. He clenched the knife in his hand. They were like three huge stone pillars. Lin Yu stood in the shadow, and his fighting spirit was boiling. Six fists came at him, and Lin Yu had nowhere to hide. He took the initiative to face a fist. Before the fist came, Lin Yu jumped up with all his strength. It was a bit like skipping rope. Lin Yu rushed out of the attack range of the fists and hit the arm of a powerful ape at the same time. The powerful ape swung its arm vigorously. The other one wanted to help him and aimed at Lin Yu. A fist came over. Lin Yu suddenly let go and the fist hit the arm of the powerful ape. He took the opportunity to come behind a powerful ape, grabbed its hair, and climbed up quickly. This powerful ape was very fierce, but it was too heavy. It could only use the human wave tactics to deal with flexible humans. Climbing behind it, Lin Yu found a position, inserted the knife fiercely, and then slashed down. Blood kept flowing down the handle of the knife. The powerful ape in front of the stone roared, but unfortunately his arms were not long enough and soft enough to attack Lin Yu. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Survival of the Beasts, Awakening the Beast Taming System at the Beginning. Author, Ji Sheng Chong. Chapter 43. This stone-fronted ape fell forward because its spine had been damaged. After dealing with one, the other two did not care about the one that fell to the ground, but rushed directly towards Lin Yu, and they roared. They actually tore the stone armor on their chests, and the stone armor was pieced together by a strange force to form dozens of small stone pillars. Suddenly, stone swords flew over from all over the sky, and there was nowhere to hide. Each stone pillar was more than 2 meters long and weighed hundreds of pounds. It was thrown by a beast like the ape, and it was probably carrying thousands of pounds of force, and it couldn't be touched at all. Lin Yu retreated at a high speed, but several stone swords still chased him. Bang! Xiao Jin stretched out his claws from the side, smashed several stone swords, and rushed over. The stone-fronted apes were not stupid, and turned and ran. The stones blocking the road had been opened, and Lin Yu went to help the pillars. After killing a mid-level ape, he rushed to Yunqi. Over the pile of rubble, dozens of stone-front apes formed a big circle. The 5 people in the middle stood back to back, and only 3 or 4 of them could attack, so they could hold on until now. If every stone-front ape came up to punch, no high-level beast could bear it. Zuzu was concerned about his companions and rushed in. Several apes surrounded him. Lin Yu was a little tired. Can you not be so brave in front of me? You rushed in and couldn't beat them, and finally I had to help you. If you don't rush in front of me, at least you can turn a blind eye to it. He thought, summoned the red rabbit, used its skill points to harass, and even killed some primary beasts. This was due to the high density of beasts. After injuring many mid-level beasts, several apes ran towards the side, grabbed the stones on the ground and threw them, and Lin Yu smashed them one by one with a knife. He suddenly felt like a great general in ancient China, challenging the army of 10,000 people alone. Solitary courage, hot-blooded. Fortunately, the intermediate-level stone-front powerful apes here are relatively weak, and can only be said to be in the early stage among the intermediate levels. Therefore, Zuzu rushed in and used a knife, dancing with great vigor. The surrounding beasts could not get close, and Zuzu slowly moved towards Yunqai's direction. The power of the Holy Sword department comes from the Holy Spirit, which is actually a natural physique. They can absorb a kind of energy from heaven and earth, similar to the Wujigong. The difference is that one is natural and the other relies on a medium. The former is more unique, after all, it is natural. Zuza's power will be attached to the knife, and the whole knife will be covered with a layer of light red light. Xiahua, go and help them, you have to eat a lot today. Lin Yu released the leopard and turned over to get off the horse at the same time, but did not take back the red rabbit, but let the red rabbit run. Sure enough, several beasts were attracted. After the leopard came out, it tore apart a powerful ape that surrounded Lin Yu, and Lin Yu used a knife to deal with one. The remaining one was not spared. Red Rabbit galloped freely over there, shooting lasers randomly from time to time. The comprehensive attribute brought by Lin Yu's own level is that his attack speed is a bit faster. With the bonus of Wujigong and the sword skills, he can kill mid-level monsters. In front of these monsters, most of which are primary level, Lin Yu also killed a bloody storm after entering. This feeling is very subtle, especially since he used to be a person who didn't understand this aspect at all, never exercised, but was only keen on hot-blooded fantasy novels. Now his dream has come true, and there are monsters around him that want his life, and these monsters will become dead souls under the sword. The primary level monsters became cannon fodder, and several mid-level monsters that besieged the 5 people in the innermost came over. Lin Yu and Zuza's steps forward were blocked, and then, these mid-level monsters were also killed in a little time. Gradually, Lin Yu's clothes were torn, revealing the armor inside. Zuza was attacked by 2 mid-level monsters, and there were other primary-level stone-front powerful apes. His footsteps stopped there temporarily, struggling hard. Faintly, it seemed that he had some of the same feelings as before when facing the flame-eyed dog. It was just that this time there were more intermediate and primary beasts. But their strength did not become much stronger. Lin Yu was like a beast, and the beasts surrounding him were just lambs to be slaughtered. He kept swinging his sword, and the black long sword drank blood and became crazy, and even the owner holding it seemed to be bloodthirsty. Follow me, I will open the way for you. Lin Yu had already approached the circle of Yun Qi and the other 5 people. Feeling the murderous aura behind him, a middle-level stone-front powerful ape dispersed the stone armor on his chest and turned into a huge stone pillar. At the same time, several primary-level beasts on the side attacked Lin Yu, stones, fists, and for a moment they didn't know which side to block. Xiaoi was blocked in the innermost by 4 people. She had no fighting strength and was just a role similar to an auxiliary, but her role was not small. Xiaoi's signature skill was the weakness aura. A big reason is that the 5 people can hold on until now because of the weak aura. At this moment, Xiaoi was panting heavily, supporting her body with a staff, and there was some worry in her eyes. Several tall and mighty mid-level stone-front apes continued to attack, and the formation of the crowd dispersed and gathered, and the scars on their bodies were getting more and more. Seeing the fierce eyes of the strange beast and the roars and roars from time to time, Xiaoi was not afraid. In one go, he has grown a lot compared to the beginning. What he thought about in his mind was more about fighting. Until he heard the words coming from outside. The worry in Xiaoi's eyes became more and more obvious. She was touched and wanted to shout, but was afraid that Lin Yu could not hear her. Outside, Lin Yu directly selected a beginner-level beast on the left. Even if it was a beginner, the powerful ape was twice as tall as Lin Yu, and its fist was bigger than his face. The knife was held in his hand, as if it was an extension of his arm. The knife was swung over, bringing a large handful of blood from its waist. Lin Yu's clothes had already turned red. The powerful ape screamed in pain. In front of him, another beginner came. A stone from behind hit his left shoulder. The huge force caused Lin Yu to roll forward. Even with armor to resist, it was useless. The force penetrated into his body. He spit out a large mouthful of blood while rolling. Then, the big foot of the beginner in front stepped over. Lin Yu gritted his teeth and inserted the knife into the ground to stop his speed. Then he gathered strength and kicked the ground with his foot. The sole of his foot stepped over and stepped the knife inserted in the ground completely into the ground. Lin Yu rolled a few times and took out a standard knife from his backpack. He felt that he really needed to use alchemy to make a knife that suited him, so that he could fully unleash the power of Wujigong. Survival of the Beasts, Awakening the Beast Taming System at the Beginning. Author, Ji Shengchong. Chapter 44. A middle-level powerful ape holding a stone pillar came from the side and swung his stick. Lin Yu ducked to the side. It's an uncomfortable feeling to be under siege. He was able to achieve this step entirely by relying on his small body, flexibility, and fast speed. In terms of strength and defense, he could not compete with these strange beasts. Thinking of this, Lin Yu released the black cloud snake eagle. After letting out a loud cry in the sky, he used the skill Black Cloud to cover an area. There were still 50 or 60 stone front apes left. It's already a bit chaotic. The leopard was too nimble and too fast. These powerful apes couldn't catch it at all, but instead brought out the corpses along the way. As for Red Rabbit, it has been using its skills randomly, with 3 or 4 mid-level powerful apes chasing behind it with a bunch of basic ones. The density of strange beasts around Lin Yu was much smaller, so they had room to move around. In the sky, the black cloud snake eagle seized the opportunity and pounced downwards, and its claws directly scratched the head of a middle-level powerful ape. Mainly because it is affected by the skill Black Cloud. Of course, this skill will not work on the black cloud snake eagle itself, so the alien beasts that were confused in the black fog were quickly eliminated. Lin Yu headed towards the center circle. Not long after, dozens of powerful apes turned into corpses and piled all over the ground. The hornless fire rhino's defense is amazing. It is holding up the high-level stone giant ape. The stone armor is attached to the chest of the powerful ape, which greatly increases its defense. The old fire can't resist it, but it can't stand it. The moving flames ran to the opponent. This was no ordinary flame. The fire rhinoceros has a natural flame, which is the companion fire. Although the hornless fire rhinoceros is a different species, it also inherited the fire rhino's companion fire. The flames burned extremely vigorously on the strong ape in front of the stone. The flames were not enough to cause injury, but over time, the pain was still very obvious, and it was about to turn into a hairless ape. At that time, where will the majesty of the leader of the ape group be? His men had been gradually slaughtered by a bear, and he didn't know what would happen on the other side. The leader of the ape group was very depressed and became violent, attacking the hornless fire rhinoceros crazily. It initially thought that the human woman wearing a veil was the most powerful, and the aura it felt was also very powerful. As a result, he was completely defeated now, and the woman was still standing there, looking like she was watching a show. This may be the idea of the leader of the great ape. It was also its last thought. The bear came over to kill, with its fangs bared and its claws slapping at it. It tried to block it with its hands, but the force was so amazing that its hand was cut off. Then the golden-haired bear came over and clawed at its chest. It's all over. The stone armor on the chest that used to have double the defense power, but the sharp claws just grabbed it like tofu. Lin Yu held his body with a knife. The fight continued, and his physical strength could no longer hold on. With Lin Yu's help, Zuzi finally broke out of the encirclement. After that, the 5 people also broke out of the encirclement of 6 or 7 intermediate-level alien beasts and joined the 2 of them. He didn't chase those powerful apes. After a fight, everyone was more or less injured. The battlefield on Lin Juju's side has also ended. She spread her slender legs and stepped over the rubble. Behind her were the hornless fire rhinoceros, whose body was covered in red flames, walking slowly, and the land bear, which was dragging the strong ape in front of the high-level stone by its legs. Full of dishes. The regretful bear roared, probably to show his power. Everyone take a rest and clean up the battlefield. Lin Yu said loudly. After saying that, he walked towards Linjiju. Everyone looked tired, and there were mountains of corpses on the ground, covered in blood. This is all money. Although the great ape is not considered a rare beast, it is superior because of its large quantity and large number. Although this trip was dangerous, Lin Yu almost single-handedly turned the tide. Only one or two of the alien beasts he summoned remained, and the rest were collected into the alien beast capsules. This person actually has the strength to challenge a stone-fronted ape with high-level exotic beasts on his own. With this idea in everyone's mind, they also know that their role is actually just to attract firepower. Brother Lin. Yun Qi still held a bloody long knife in his mobile phone, standing with Xiao Luobo. Brother Zaimu stood on the right, and Xiao Yi and Zuzu stood on the left. They all looked at Lin Yu at this time. Lin Yu turned around, raised his eyebrows, and said, "What's wrong?" "Thanks." The voices of the 6 people were not loud, but Lin Yu heard them clearly. After that, they all bowed, which must have been agreed upon. Lin Yu smiled slightly when he saw this scene. A very natural smile with no emotion at all, just like 2 acquaintances meeting each other and smiling at each other. "Actually, I'm very happy to get along with you. You are very cheerful, optimistic, and considerate. You are different from the people I have known before. They all say it is fate. Since fate brought us together, then everything will go as it should. So-called thank you, you really don't have to." Lin Yu spread his hands. It seemed that he really didn't care about this matter. Corpses were piled on the ground, most of them killed by Lin Yu and his beasts. After Yun Qi heard Lin Yu's chatty words and then walked away indifferently, the heavy atmosphere suddenly dissipated. "Oh," Yun Qi grinned, but felt tight in his chest, not just because of his chest injury. Lin Yu walked a few steps and turned back to laugh. "You don't have to belittle yourselves. After all, we started from different points. Besides, you are also very powerful, but you shouldn't compare yourself with me." Ha ha ha. He felt that the cheerful tribesmen would not like the shy way, so it would be better to resolve each other's worries and troubles in a joking way. Yun Qiliu just felt that he didn't play any role. Ha ha ha. In the valley, blood flowed like a river, but there was laughter coming out, echoing between heaven and earth. "Well, I didn't expect you really didn't make a move. Compared with the last time, you solved it easily. I feel a little bit at a disadvantage. Basically, I went out with all my strength and got injured. No, I'll do it next time. When you meet a powerful enemy, you can make a move again." Lin Yu stood in front of Linjiju, looking indignant. Linjiju, who was wearing a veil, couldn't see her face clearly, but judging from her eyes, she should be quite indifferent. Even Lin Yu felt that she was not listening to him. Linjiju patted the dust off her snow-white sleeves, glanced at Lin Yu, and said, "You are weak, who can you blame?" Lin Yu's indignant face suddenly darkened, followed by a look of disdain. "Speaking of which, you are really stingy." Survival of the Beasts, Awakening the Beast Taming System at the Beginning. Author, Ji Sheng Chong. Chapter 45. Lin Yu widened his eyes and said, "I don't think I'm just being stingy with you. Besides, you have to understand your current position and stop thinking of yourself as a non-colored cloud fox with noble blood. You are now Lin Yu's biological child's sister. Your name is Linjiju. I was hit by a stone just now. You, sister, don't know how to feel sorry for your brother." Linjiju rolled her eyes and said, "Why do you humans curse? Swearing? Why do you want to scold me? You have no conscience, and you still scold your own brother. It's so outrageous. No, I won't scold you. I just want to learn it suddenly. If I encounter something very angry in the future, I can vent it. Otherwise, I won't even scold you. Could it be that you want me to be like that stupid bear? Looking up to the sky and roaring? It's okay. I didn't expect you to be able to use idioms. That's great. The two were talking and laughing here. Under Lin Jiju's entanglement, Lin Yu taught her a dialect, which was the dialect of Lin Yu's hometown in China. In fact, Lin Yu didn't want such an ignorant, simple, and charming nine-colored cloud fox to be polluted. This can be considered a bit of his bad taste. Today is a bumper harvest. A bumper harvest. Zuzu stood on the belly of a powerful ape in front of a stone, waving the knife in his hand. Opportunities and dangers coexist in equal measure. This is not nonsense. Before the opportunity comes, you can only become stronger and wait patiently. Little radish, you can keep that piece of meat and grill it later. Although the ape meat is not very tasty, with my skillful and exquisite barbecue skills, no matter how unpalatable the meat is, you can become my repeat customer. Zuzu stretched out his hand to call Xiaolabo and kept mumbling, which sounded like he was advertising his own things. Lin Yu had just walked over, and Xiao Yi had not participated in cleaning the battlefield. In the Holy Sword department, people like Xiao Ai are called masters. They are practitioners who are said to have the power given by the Holy God, but they are not the same kind as Yun Kizu and others. A master is said to be one who knows the will of the Holy Spirit and is born that way. Most people in the Holy Sword tribe can have the power of pillars to practice, but masters are much rarer, which makes masters have a higher status in the tribe. In battle, the master is the kind of person who is protected and does not have to clean up the battlefield. Xiao Ai is the youngest and the granddaughter of a respected elder in the clan. Everyone also likes this cute and lively little sister. Xiao Ai will not be allowed to do such a bloody thing as cleaning the battlefield. At this moment, she was sitting on a big rock, playing with her black hair in boredom. When she heard what Zuzu said, she couldn't help but laugh again. Lin Yu walked over, and the blood on the corner of his mouth had been wiped away by his hand. He loved reading slogans. The young man smiled. Xiao Ai saw him coming, patted the seat next to him, motioned for him to sit over, and then said slowly, "Next to Brother Zuzu's house is a butcher's shop, and he shouts there every day. I think as time goes by, things will change under the influence of what he hears and what he sees. It's what it is now." Lin Yu sat over and nodded, with a look of reminiscence, "But his meat is really good at roasting." "Well, how is your injury?" Xiao Ai turned to look at him. "Injured? I'm not injured." Lin Yu looked confused, and then looked at Xiao Yi with sincere eyes. Xiao Ai's big eyes escaped and patted Lin Yu's left shoulder. Hiss. Lin Yu couldn't help but make a sound, and subconsciously looked at Xiao Yi, but he met the other person's somewhat reproachful look. "You don't have to hide it from me," Xiao Ai said softly. Alas, Lin Yu flattened his cheeks helplessly and said, "You know, men always have to pretend to be powerful and strong in front of women, and I am no exception. And what do you think? Come out. First of all, the blood stains on the corner of your mouth were not wiped clean. I could see it with my sharp eyes. Then the way you walked was obviously unnatural. Your left shoulder seemed to be collapsed, so I guessed, but I didn't expect it to happen." "You guessed it," Xiao Ai said seriously with a straight face. Lin Yu gave her a thumbs up, then shook his head and said, "Okay, I was indeed hit by a rock, but it doesn't matter." Xiao Yi shook his head slightly and said, "My grandfather once studied medical skills. I also read a few books on medical skills. Turn around, take off this armor and I will show it to you." Lin Yu didn't say anything, and obediently took off his clothes, then threw aside the armor he was wearing, and turned his back to Xiao Ai. Xiao Ai tapped the area on his left shoulder with his finger. Lin Yu yelled, "Hiss, hiss." The area was completely swollen and turned purple. This was while wearing armor, so you can imagine how powerful it was. Xiao Ai took out a bottle of medicinal powder from her bag, then put on gloves and poured the powder into the purple area. It will hurt, please bear with it. It's okay. I'm not afraid of, woohoo, Lin Yu shouted in pain just halfway through his words, his brows raised high and his teeth clenched. Xiaoi wanted to laugh, but also felt a little distressed, and said, you need to rub the power of the medicinal powder into the blood congestion. This will heal quickly. This is a unique formula in our clan, and it is different from others, she introduced, while giving Lin Yu a push. Then I'm really lucky. Have you ever given anyone such medicine? Lin Yu's face turned red from pain. It became a little difficult to speak. Xiaoi thought for a moment before replying, you are the first one. I brought this here specially. Few people in the tribe will use it. Not long after, Xiaoi said something and Lin Yu put on her clothes. Xiaoi stretched out her hand and saw a small bottle in her palm. She only heard her say, here, this is for you. You have to do it several times to see significant effects on the bruises. Don't be careless. Lin Yu didn't take it and said, how can I do it alone? Xiaoi said, call your sister. Anyway, this is very simple. Just sprinkle it on and push it for a while. She will leave soon. After saying that, Lin Yu looked at Xiaoi. Xiaoi also understood what he meant. His eyes rolled around and he looked reluctant. Well, anyway, I just have nothing to do these days, so I'll push it for you. Xiaoi couldn't help laughing. After cleaning up the battlefield, a large number of corpses were left on the ground, and they would eventually dissolve into nature. The team did not move forward because they were all injured, and after returning to the castle, they quickly began to pack up and prepare for tomorrow's departure, as they were tempted to go to Suiyu City. The night was just right. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Survival of the Beasts, Awakening the Beast Taming System at the Beginning. Author, Ji Sheng Chong. Chapter 46. The next day. The people who had packed their bags gathered in the square outside the periphery of Qinggu mountain range. Swoosh. A bird was shot by an arrow and fell to the ground. The young man in a gorgeous silk robe put the bow behind his back and stepped forward to grab the arrow. This was a primary level exotic beast. In the dense forest, it takes a very high level to shoot down a flying primary level exotic beast with a bow. When the young man bent down to pick up the arrow, there was a long line of cars next to him. A head popped out of the window. It was a girl with a ponytail. The girl's fair face was filled with smiles. Brother Huanglang, there will be bird meat for lunch today. The cheerful voice of the girl made the young man called Huanglang smile unconsciously. His name is Zhou Huanglang, a native of Suiyu, and the fourth young master of the Zhou family Chamber of Commerce, the second largest chamber of commerce in Suiyu City. The girl who spoke was his confidant. Her name is Li Ning-er, the second daughter of the third branch of the Li family. This entire convoy of nearly 100 meters was the work of the fourth young master, but he, who is nearly 20 years old, has made great achievements. Everyone says that he is the most suitable person to inherit the Chamber of Commerce. Zhou Huanglang himself knows that he is actually a little tired. The caravan was resting in the forest. A man who looked like a guard came over and said something to Zhou Huanglang. The whole convoy formed a circle. Some people were feeding the horses, some were standing guard, some were making fires, and some were taking out food. A group of people got off from several carriages. Several people talked and laughed and went to the circle in the center. It is not easy for a team of hundreds of people to find a place to rest in the forest. This open space is very large, with more than a dozen bonfires in the middle, and the pomp is also very grand. Among them, the bonfire in the center is also the largest, and people are constantly carrying things there. Zhou Huanglang and Li Ning sat on the low stools next to the bonfire. Soon, Many people came to the campfire. "Brother Lin, come and sit down." Lin Yu and his men sat down here. Zhou Huanglang smiled and said, "Let's rest for an hour and then set off again. After a few more hours, we should be able to reach Suiyu in the evening." "Thank you, brother Zhou." Lin Yu clasped his fists towards him. Zhou Huanglang also responded. "Xiao Ran, you're welcome. I'm just taking a ride. I heard that you're not from Suiyu." Lin Yu said, "We are from Gilai City. We go to Suiyu to make a living there. After all, Suiyu is a big city nearby." Hearing this, Zhou Huanglang nodded suddenly and said, "So that's the case. Gilai City is not small. To come from there, you have to bypass the entire Qinggu Mountains. Even if you go to the periphery, it will take several days." Lin Yu recalled the plot in the novel, paused and replied, "To be honest, we planned to walk on the grassland, but encountered a strong wind. We had to go into the mountains. After that, we met Brother Zhou, and we survived the days of fear." Haha, meeting is fate. The two chatted familiarly. The others also contacted the people of the Chamber of Commerce around them. Those around the campfire were the real core of the caravan, of course, except for Lin Yu and his friends. "Looking at your clothes, you should be 3 generations, right?" Zhou Huanglang took a plate of fruit next to him and put it aside, saying, "Brother Zhou has good eyesight. The Zhou family is in Suiyu, so they must be very powerful." Such a large caravan, Lin Yu looked like he had never seen the world before, scanning the carriages outside and exclaiming. Zhou Huanglang shook his head slightly, ate a fruit, and said, "Actually, it's nothing." The caravan set off again. The grassland is in the wind season recently, and many caravans can only choose to go into the mountains. The terrain in the mountains is complicated, but there is nothing in the periphery. There are many primary level exotic beasts, and even if you encounter a mid-level one, it won't make any waves. The only disadvantage is that it walks slowly. Moreover, the Qinggu Mountains are a primitive rainforest, humid and hot, with many poisonous insects. People will collapse after walking in it for a few days. The carriage in the center looks ordinary, but the decoration inside is magnificent. Zhou Huanglang and Li Ning sit together. In the middle is a table with some fruit plates and snacks on it. Brother Huanglang, except for the one with the surname Lin, the others look like natives, but they just changed their clothes. Li Ning curled her lips, grabbed Zhou Huanglang's arm, and shook it gently, like a spoiled child. Zhou Huanglang picked up a grape and put it in his mouth, then paused, and put another grape to Li Ning's mouth. After Li Ning ate it, Zhou Huanglang said, "Those people do look like natives, with a little accent. Don't worry, they are very weak. I don't know if that Lin Yu is level 20. If he is not even level 20, even if there is any trouble, he can be suppressed by turning his hand." He said a lot of things at once and ate the fruit on the table again. Walking on the rugged road, there was no shaking in the car. After all, how could the car used by the Chamber of Commerce's young master to travel be shabby? Not long after, the sky became bright, and the convoy was like a long snake, driving out of the mountains and forests into the endless grassland. Many people poked their heads out, and there were guards riding horses, following the convoy. Some people were breathing greedily, some were sighing, and some were laughing and talking. A few hours later, during which time there were no accidents on the road. Gradually, a black line could be seen in front of us, as if it was the dividing line between heaven and earth. When we got in, we realized that it was a tall and magnificent black city wall. At the first glance, we felt awe. Lin Yu was in the rear of the convoy, and the carriage for one person was still very comfortable. "Come out, we're almost there," Lin Yu whispered, and he didn't know what was wrong with him. There was no one in the car. After a while, a head popped out of Lin Yu's arms, and then a fox with a 9-colored tail crawled out. Like a magic trick, The fox disappeared, and a tall woman with a veil appeared in the carriage. It was Lin Juju, the nine-colored cloud fox. At this moment, she took off her veil and looked at Lin Yu with resentment, while the latter looked innocent. Lin Yu spoke first and said, "I'm sorry for wronging you. If you come out, it will really cause a lot of trouble. I didn't want to follow them, but I suddenly met them, so I took a ride, to compensate you in the city." Later, Lin Yu couldn't make up any more, so he just turned his face away and confessed. Lin Juju pouted her red lips and complained, "There's no need to get into your arms, it's disgusting." Lin Yu smiled awkwardly, "What's disgusting? I'm not without clothes inside." Lin Juju didn't respond, but snorted directly, looking angry, and said, "Tell me, how do you compensate me?" Survival of the Beasts, Awakening the Beast Taming System at the Beginning. Author, Ji Sheng Chong. Chapter 47. What do you think we should do? Lin Yu thought for a while, but didn't think she would be lacking anything, and didn't know what she liked, so she said this. "Oh, man. Let's talk about it then, I am your sister anyway," Lin Juju hummed. Lin Yu scratched his hair and said helplessly, "I just want to know where you learn these things, like coquettishness, anger, and making conditions. Sometimes I feel that you are not like a strange beast, but more like an angry person, little girl." Lin Juju rolled her eyes, sat down on the edge, looked at Lin Yu, and said, "You don't understand Juke Iunhuanhu, we will have memories of the previous life." Lin Yu's eyes widened and he said, "Memories from the previous life?" "Yes, not much. Sometimes I dream that in my previous life, I should have been a human woman, and a very beautiful one," Lin Juju said with a smile. "How can I see it?" "Intuition." Outside, a group of guards ran past, the sound of horse hooves tapping was loud and tidy, and someone could vaguely hear someone saying that the scenery was beautiful. Lin Juju lifted the curtain of the car window and leaned out. "Wow, it's sunset, a beautiful sunset." She retracted her head again, waved to Lin Yu, and said, "Quick, come and take a look." "Sunset," Lin Yu muttered and walked towards the window. The Zhou Family Chamber of Commerce's car is still very good and not too bumpy. The wheel is pulled forward by the green horse, and the grass that is less than half of the wheel keeps moving backwards. Looking ahead, we see the magnificent city wall, and the sky above the city wall is red. They were several huge clouds with weird shapes. They were reflected in the fiery red sky. The clouds turned into three colors. The top layer was red, which became lighter as it went down. The middle layer was goose yellow, which should be the afterglow of the sun. The bottom is white. I leaned my head out of the window, feeling the gentle breeze blowing. The artistic conception is naturally wonderful. The city wall gradually entered, and there were several roads paved with huge blue stones. Many people and horses were rushing towards the city gate. There were law enforcement officers wearing purple clothes and swords embroidered on their chests to maintain order. This was the peak of entering the city. "It's due." Lin Yu got off the carriage, followed by Lin Juju. He originally planned to let her enter the city and leave the team before coming out, but Lin Juju refused to return to his arms or put her in his bag. Lin Juju felt that this was an insult to her. The nine-colored cloud magic fox, a top-level bloodline, was actually placed in the arms of a human. How unbecoming it was. If she acts coquettishly again, Lin Yu can't do anything to her. In fact, what could Lin Yu do? For a beautiful woman, although he knew in his heart that she was a fox, there was still a voice telling him that she was a woman, a beautiful woman. Damn, what a man is like. Lin Yu had already thought of a rhetoric in his mind. Lin Juju had been staying in the deep mountains and old forests. Although she said she had some memories of her past life, Lin Yu felt that it was not reliable. This fox would just cause trouble. Yun Qi and the others were wearing clothes that Lin Yu had found temporarily, and they were wearing clothes with indigenous characteristics. After all, this was a human city. Lin Yu had some understanding of the people who had traveled from the alien beast continent, but he couldn't say he knew them very well. He just bought some books in the system and knew the general history, that's all. The people who came here from Blue Star, some 300 years ago, are called a generation. Among them are not only Chinese people. They also have a beast control system, but most of the people of that generation are probably dead. Then there are the second generation from 100 years ago. Including 3 generations, 4 generations who have been here for a short time. These people all have systems. I don't know if their systems are the same, but they are not much different. At this moment, there are 3 avenues that can accommodate 5 carriages leading to the city gate. Some were big men riding tigers, and there were also a group of people in uniforms carrying goods. At this moment, many people got out of the car and marveled at the sunset of the day. Listen to Gilu, Yiren's abilities are all from another world. This is a secret. Yiren is unwilling to talk about this matter and never mentions it. Now the entire continent is full of them. 300 years ago, they appeared out of thin air. Until now, the city has become what it is now. Zuzu was communicating with Xiaolabo. Xiaolabo looked at the sky and ignored him completely. He pulled Yunkai over and pointed at a motorcade, saying how he was doing. Zuzu has a kind heart. Even though he doesn't look like it, people should never be judged by their appearance. Zuzu chats with Xiaoyi again. Following the flow of people, when you arrive in front of the city gate, you have to go through an interrogation. Zhou Huanglang ordered the coachman to go over, and he was almost at the checkpoint. The man in crimson armor held a spear in one hand and stood on a circular platform. Behind him was a pagoda-like building. There are 3 black snake-shaped lines on the chest of the armor. Show me your resident card and pass. What are you talking about? The guard said in a cold voice. Standing in front of him was a middle-aged man in bright robes. He took out 2 small black books from his arms and handed them to the guard, and then he said, "Brother guard, I am a salt merchant, and these trucks are all carrying salt." The guard looked at the small book, handed it back to the man, and said, "Pass." "Okay, thank you, brother guard." The man put the pass away, showed a smile, waved to the people behind him, and the small convoy entered the checkpoint. At the same time, the tower-shaped building behind the guard flew up. Flying over, there was no movement in mid-air, just spinning in mid-air. After the caravan passed, it was the turn of the Zhou family chamber of commerce. The driver sent by Zhou Huanglang walked over. When the guard saw the logo on the carriage, he no longer had a cold face, but smiled kindly. The 2 of them talked to each other familiarly. During this time, the driver took out his ID, and the guard glanced at him in a pretentious manner and said a few more words. The caravan passed the checkpoint and passed through the heavy city wall. Entering the prosperous Suiyu city, there were several lanes at the intersection, which were divided by strange paints, and there was a tall sign with Bu Avenue written on it. The left side led to West Ring Road and City Security Bureau. The right side was East Ring Road and Tiandu Building. Lin Yu was shocked when he saw this scene. This should be the masterpiece of the so-called 3 generations. The people who came here 10 years ago transformed this place into this look. As for the second generation who came 100 years ago, it was very chaotic during the Republic of China period. Of course, there couldn't be such modern things, such as Tiandu Building, and there was a traffic light in the middle of the road. I don't know how it was made. Not only Lin Yu was stunned, but Yun Qiliu and the others were also stunned. They looked around and slowed down their pace unconsciously. "What a magical world," Lin Yu said softly. Survival of the Beasts, Awakening the Beast Taming System at the Beginning. Author, Ji Shengchong. Chapter 48. In the city, the convoy can no longer maintain a long snake formation, which is too long and can be lined up outside the city. The traffic light in front turned red. The convoy stopped. The groom did not whip the horse. The horse stopped by itself when it saw the red light. I don't know how it was trained. Lin Yu kept looking around in the car. This is simply a replica of Blue Star, a combination of China in the 21st century and the feudal dynasty. There are no cars, but the beasts pull the carts instead. Don't say it, this green horse pulls very fast. Without mobile phones, people no longer bow their heads. There is no electricity, but there are all kinds of gem energy. Everything is so wonderful and intoxicating. The mystery and unknown of the city firmly attracted Lin Yu, and he couldn't wait to explore it. The Zhou family chamber of commerce occupied a large distance on the straight road. This is the appearance of the second chamber of commerce in Quansuiyu. Suddenly, someone seemed to be heard shouting, "It's a sky blue lion tiger beast. It's flying. Who is the person on it?" "Don't shout, I have scanned this person and this lion tiger beast with the second generation system, and there is no information at all." Lin Yu leaned out of the car window, and in the sky, a winged beast flew forward at a high speed, causing Lin Yu to not see it clearly. A loud shout came from behind, attracting everyone's attention. It was a beast with short wings on its feet and covered with green scales. The person riding on its back flew over before Lin Yu could see it clearly. "I only heard one sentence, rebellious son, who dares to run away from marriage?" Immediately afterwards, a heat wave swept over, and disappeared after the green-scaled beast left. Run away from marriage, Lin Yu was stunned. The one in front, called the sky blue lion tiger beast, was probably not an ordinary species, and it was very fast. The one behind, judging from the voice, was a middle-aged man. It should be the father of the person in front. Judging from the postures of these two people, their status and position are probably not simple. The most important thing is, why would they stage such a drama of running away from marriage? According to the plot in the novel, the children of the big families marry women who are as beautiful as fairies. Running away from marriage? It's almost like robbing a marriage. I don't know what kind of woman he married. He actually let the man ride such a fast lion tiger beast and fly away, as if he was running for his life. Is that the breath of the blue fire unicorn? No, it's impossible. The ancestral land of the blue fire unicorn is far away from here. Lin Jiju, who was sitting in the carriage, frowned and talked to herself. Kylin? What unicorn? The strange beast outside just now? Don't say, it really looks a bit like it. Lin Yu became interested. After all, in the legend, it is a beast of auspiciousness. How could he have seen it with his own eyes? Lin Jiju paused, as if thinking, and said, "I didn't see it." "What does it look like?" "Blue scales, and it seems to have very short wings on its feet." "The temperature rises a lot when it rushes over," Lin Yu said. Lin Jiju nodded and said, "With wings, the King Huo Kylin can indeed fly, but without wings, it is probably a hybrid of Kylin and other exotic beasts. It is extremely rare to have a Kylin of a different species in this place." Lin Jiju looked like a master with a serious face. Lin Yu did not take her seriously, and no longer fantasized about the scene of escaping marriage. Not long after, the convoy drove to the door of a building. The street faces, the street lights of various colors have been lit up, including the building, which is also colorful. These people from the 21st century have a lot of imagination, and they have restored many things in China. Lin Yu got off the carriage and looked up at the building, thinking that among the three generations, some of them probably studied architecture. Such a tall building would make the second and first generations dumbfounded. "Brother Zhou, thank you so much, we have no way to repay you. If you have time, you can come to visit the Lin family in Gulichen." Lin Yu thanked Zhou Huanglang again, talking nonsense on his mouth and smiling on his face. Zhou Huanglang smiled professionally and said, "I will definitely go if I have the chance." He was silent for a moment, then said, "So where are you going and what are you going to do?" Lin Yu said, "To be honest, we are here to have fun in Suiyu. It would be better if we can make a career." I was just about to ask Brother Joe, where can I buy all kinds of information about Suio City? Zhou Huanglang nodded and said, so that's it? Go straight ahead, turn left and look all the way, and you will find it. Also, if you have nothing to do, you can also come here to find me. After saying that, he smiled. On the top of the building, which is dozens of floors high, a few glowing big words can be vaguely seen. Zhou's Chamber of Commerce. Thank you, Brother Zhou. These are all polite words. Lin Yu actually envied Zhou Huanglang a little, of course, in terms of money, which is common sense, but he also knew that Zhou Huanglang actually carried a lot. Comparatively, Lin Yu prefers his current life. He only wins in the word freedom. Of course, Lin Yu felt that he was a man favored by the system, so he didn't belittle himself. Although everyone here had a system, Lin Yu had two more, the so-called God level. Zhou Huanglang directed a group of people to be busy there, and Lin Yu didn't disturb them. According to the direction he gave, he looked for the store. Now this was what he needed most, and the other thing was money. But Lin Yu was not in a hurry about this, he had a lot of resources to exchange for money. Lin Yu walked in front, leading a group of people. He suddenly felt a little dazed. When did he become the leader of this team? Thinking carefully, he couldn't remember it clearly. At first, maybe it was because of his strong strength and saving them, everyone believed in him. The 6 people were enjoying the newly lit city, talking and laughing happily. Lin Zhiju followed Lin Yu half a step behind, just like the others, while Lin Yu was silent and searching. Turn left. The weather was actually a bit hot. The road was very wide, with a road in the middle for carriages and a road for mounts. At this moment, there was a lot of traffic. There were carriages and strange beasts running on the road. A lion-like strange beast that left a flame mark on the ground with every step attracted the attention of several people. Strange beast, red flame tiger, high level 0, level 30. Qualification, mutation, has been subdued. This time, the system sounded a prompt. At that time in the evening, there were no strange beasts that might be Kylin, nor lions and tigers. Was it too fast for the system to detect? If so, then this system would be a scumbag in the previous Chinese novels. No, this is just a game system, with a store, a lottery pool and other things. But Lin Yu, as the owner of a god-level system, doesn't have a cheat code. It's just that his beast taming capsule is much more advanced than others. That's all. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Survival of the Beasts, Awakening the Beast Taming System at the Beginning. Author, Ji Sheng Chong. Chapter 49. Sitting on the red flame tiger was a young man, about the same age as Lin Yu. Judging from his clothes, he looked like he was from the 3rd generation. From a distance, the face can't be seen clearly, but Kaiba has a high-level exotic beast as a mount, and looking at its clothes, one can easily judge its extraordinary identity. At the same time that Lin Yu looked over, the young man actually turned his head, glanced at Lin Yu, and then shifted his gaze. If Lin Yu was not mistaken, this man should be looking at Lin Zhiju behind him. Because the red flame tiger is very fast, it only takes one breath. Lin Yu didn't pay attention and continued walking forward. Lin Zhiju quickened her pace a little and said in a low voice, "That person must be thinking about me, so be careful." He paused, turned his head to look at Lin Zhiju, and said in surprise, "I just want to know." That person just glanced at him, so far away, and could only see the outline of his face, but you can actually feel that he is interested in you. That's right. You're not bragging, right? Ha! Hearing this, Lin Zhiju laughed disdainfully. "You have forgotten, I just turned into a human form, you don't even dare to look at me, and you are so angry." At this point, Lin Yu had already turned his head away. Regardless of his expression, Lin Jiju continued, "It's normal for an ignorant young man like you to not know how powerful a top bloodline is. I, the nine-colored cloud magic fox, am many times better than you in terms of perception, humph. Okay, you are awesome. If that person is looking for trouble, he will look for trouble. Do you think I'm afraid of him? Also, shouldn't he be looking for trouble when he likes you?" "Why me?" Lin Yu said helplessly. Later he looked sad again. "Don't think about it, that person must think that I am your wife. That person is probably pretty good. Unfortunately, it's too far away. If you walk in a little closer, with my beauty, I'm afraid I'm going to pick on you on the spot." "Lin Yu, I didn't realize you were quite narcissistic. Sister has capital." After walking for a while, Lin Yu saw a small shop called Yunmo Chenxiang. The decoration style was different from other shops. The area around Zhou's building is already the center of Suiyou City. The style here combines the ancient Chinese feudal dynasty, the Republic of China period, and the modern 21st century. Each building is separate and different from the style of the 21st century city. Therefore, when Lin Yu saw the ancient pavilion-style building and the hanging plaque, he was unconsciously attracted to it. He knew something about history, but Lin Yu didn't know the architectural style, including some specific details. "I just feel a strange feeling of being in the 21st century, ancient China, and knowing that I am in the continent of alien beasts." Very subtle. Walking into Yunmo Agarwood, in the small hall, there are simple cabinets on both sides, which display some books. On the rocking chair next to the counter, an old man with half-white hair is holding a cattail leaf fan. The rocking chair is shaking. A humming sound came from the old man's mouth. A group of people came in, making a lot of noise, and the whole store suddenly became crowded. "Shopkeeper, do you have a map of Suiyou City?" Lin Yu originally wanted to call him boss, but he roughly guessed that this person should be a descendant of a generation. In ancient times, wasn't everyone called him shopkeeper? The second cabinet on the left is the third one from left to right. "Boy, you should be from the fourth generation. As for the few behind, I guessed it is tribesmen," the old man said in a calm tone. Lin Yu's eyes were focused on the old man, but he didn't open his eyes. While he was surprised, he also felt that the old man was unfathomable. "I found a roll of parchment according to what the old man said. He asked Yun Qi to pay first." What was circulating on the alien beast continent was a kind of ore called yuanjing. This kind of mineral veins were scattered all over the continent. The function of yuanjing was not only as currency, but also possessed a strange the energy will be emitted very slowly. This energy has a weak effect on people and can make people feel comfortable. Therefore, this kind of thing is often used as decoration. Some people also believe that yuanjing can extend life. Of course, this is due to the stacking of quantity. Some rich people have also done experiments, proving that yuanjing does have a little bit of this effect, but really a little bit can probably extend the lifespan of an ordinary person. Live a good life. This caused the appreciation of yuanjing. In addition, alien beasts also like this thing very much, and there are even alien beasts that specifically feed on this kind of thing. There are also many people who place many yuan crystals in their tombs. No fear of being stolen either. In the tribe, this kind of thing is also used as currency. Lin Yu bought a lot of things here. Lin Yu didn't ask the old man how he could tell. He paid for the things and left. There were hidden dragons and crouching tigers in the city. Lin Yu found a shop that bought the corpses of strange beasts and sold the corpse of a high-level iron-skinned bear that had been collected before. The corpse of a high-level strange beast was actually worth 120,000 yuan crystals. Lin Yu discovered again that yuanjing could not be placed in the system's backpack. This should be the case for everyone. So 3 generations built a bank, and 100,000 UN crystals were stored in the stored value card of Suiyu's largest bank, Longguo Bank. The remaining 20,000 were packed in a box. Yuanjing is similar to broken silver in ancient times, a small one, the size of a finger. 20,000 pills and several boxes were carried. We found a mid-priced inn and gave Lin Yu a room alone. At Yunmoe Garwood, Lin Yu bought many copies of all kinds of information, just to let everyone know about Suiyu. This is not a small town. Took a shower and changed into the clothes he had just bought. After the 3 generations came, in just 10 years, the city had changed so much, modernized, including clothes. Lin Yu bought them in a chain store, not in a big mall, but in a commercial pedestrian street. Everyone was like this. The 3 generations really brought a group of talents. They promoted the style of the 21st century, excavated various luminous gems, and made another style of neon lights. Every store was colorful, and the style was even more colorful than the 21st century. Lin Yu guessed that they also studied air conditioning, which was probably made of ice-attributed ore. Lin Yu could imagine how many technical components there were in many of these details. The 3 generations were really amazing for the city to become like this. The first step was to familiarize Lin Yu with various places in Suiyu. The second step was to understand the political system of Suiyu city. Among them, the boss of Suiyu is the city lord's mansion, and there are various departments and bureaus that manage various aspects. There are also some villages in Suiyu's territory, which are roughly divided into 2 parts. One is at the foot of the Qinggu Mountains, and the other is on the edge of Suiyu, which is also quite evenly distributed. Survival of the Beasts, Awakening the Beast Taming System at the Beginning. Author, Ji Shengchang. Chapter 50. There are 3 towns near Suiyu, 3 big towns. 2 of them are developing light industry, and 1 is heavy industry. At the foot of the Qinggu Mountains, there are more residents than on the prairie, mainly engaged in breeding and planting. Therefore, it is very prosperous and has several famous scenic spots. Lin Yu decided to visit these places in the next few days. Then an hour or 2 later, Lin Yu took everyone to the night market and ate Suiyu's delicacies. Seeing the familiar names, Lin Yu wanted to cry. Especially wanted to cry. You know, he ate barbecue for a month. He only had a simple meal in the Zhou family caravan. When he came here, Lin Yu was almost choked. Lin Zhiju didn't understand why he was so excited, but others didn't notice that his face was weird at all. A group of heartless guys. Just busy ordering food. While asking Lin Yu what to eat, they first came to a Shaxian restaurant. Looking at the menu, Lin Yu recommended wontons to them and told them to order the braised food there, such as braised tofu. Eggs were gone, because there were no chickens in the alien beast continent, but the 3 generations with a wild imagination replaced them with bird eggs. When the boss explained that this was a bird egg, Lin Yu smiled and suddenly remembered the reason for the appetite. He couldn't help but ask, "Boss, your portion is not the same as that of Waxia, right?" The boss grinned and pointed to the table next to him, saying, "Didn't you see that the table has become much bigger? Don't worry, it's impossible to eat a full meal, but it's definitely not the kind that fills the gaps between your teeth." Haha. Lin Yu nodded and said, "That's good. Listen to the boss's accent, it should be Hujian's." Yes, I am Hujian's, little brother, how about you?" The boss's eyes lit up. "I'm next door to you, I'm from Kangxi." Oh, that's also a fellow villager, although they are not from the same province, but next door, that's almost the same. Lin Yu wondered if the boss would come over with red eyes if they were next door, and then tell him that I'll treat you. The table was big, different from the rectangular small table in Huaxia. The one here was an enlarged version, with more than 5 or 6 people sitting at the table. Lin Yu and Zhiju sat face to face. Xiaoi came over and told Lin Yu what he had seen and heard here, and Lin Yu had to pretend that he had seen it all, nodding calmly, but in fact, he had never seen anything. There were only 3 people at Lin Yu's table, and Yunkai was at the table behind them. Although the eyes of the brothers were curious and fresh, they were more talkative than usual. But it was mainly Zuzi and Yunkai who were competing as if it was a common meal, and Xiaolabo was helping out on the side. Lin Yu has been relatively silent recently, so only Xiaoi came here, and Lin Jiju had nothing to say, calling him sister, so where else to sit if not here? Yun Qi and the others came to see the world. They have a home to return to. For them, it is a warm haven. The 6 people are just children who left their mother's arms to play. Lin Yu is not like that. What lies before him is a foggy road. The fog is so thick that he can't even see himself clearly. He really wants to roar. Ah! Why am I different from other protagonists of time travel novels? Others all have golden fingers at the beginning, breaking through the sky and crushing the earth, stirring up the wind and clouds, and finally standing on the top of the world, looking down on all living beings. And Lin Yu, who has been hiding in the old forest since the beginning, has picked up a pretty fox. Comparing people is so annoying. The reason for silence is that he needs to think clearly about his own path. There are still too many unknown things in this world. He can't see clearly. Lin Yu doesn't like this feeling of being at a loss. Not long after, the dishes were served, and everyone ordered several servings. Lin Yu tasted the wonton first, his eyes lit up, and he gave a thumbs up to the boss who came over, saying, "Great, it still tastes the same." The boss was also very happy and said with a smile, "What's so great? This is something for eating, something passed down from our ancestors. Did you see that I am a 4th-generation person who has only appeared recently?" Lin Yu took a bite of the wonton and tilted his head to look at the boss standing next to the table. The boss is a middle-aged man who is a little fat. Hearing this, he said and then said, "I know, the system has been talking about this recently, then what? I have been eating barbecue, fruit, and wild vegetable soup for a month. Today I ate the special snacks of China. I actually feel like crying." Lin Yu looked at the boss very seriously, and his tone was quite emotional. This time the boss nodded. "Then what?" Lin Yu let out a long breath and stared at the street outside. "This place makes me feel familiar, yet so strange, like a rootless duckweed. I don't know what I rely on to survive for a month. When I come here, my heart is still empty." It was the first time that Lin Yu confided his feelings to a stranger. I don't know why, but it seems that he has the urge to talk to unfamiliar people. Is it because he is young? The person he was talking to was a snack bar owner. After talking, Xiaoi put down the spoon in her hand. She stared at Lin Yu, and Lin Yu stared outside. There are many things in the boy's eyes. Deep, complex. Xiaoi even saw this kind of emotion in his eyes for the first time, that is confusion, and there are some things she can't understand. Lin Yu in front of him seemed to have become a little stranger. The boss was silent for a while. 10 years ago, I was just a young man. Now, my child is 3 years old. How did I get through this? On that street, you can point to anyone at random. His story may be ordinary, but the emotions brought by time, sadness, sorrow, or other things, he is still alive. Maybe he has found happiness. Confused. Who hasn't? Among the young people I have seen, whether in Blue Star Huaxia or Suiyu, you have such thoughts, not bad. Lin Yu was stunned, looked at him in confusion, and asked, "What?" The boss smiled and said, "Read more, books will solve your problems, and so will time." After speaking, he looked at Lin Yu meaningfully, and went to the kitchen, leaving only one sentence, "Have a good meal." Lin Yu continued to enjoy the snacks with a belly full of doubts. The familiar taste filled his mouth and made him fall into memories. That was Blue Star, a place called Huaxia. In a small town. When Lin Yu was young, he lived with his mother and grandmother. When he was young, he had no impression of his father. He only remembered that his uncle took him away from his grandmother. Now when he thinks about it, it is just a few vague pictures. He has been living with his grandparents. They are not well educated, and his grandmother can't even read a few words.